Welcome back, artists. Today we're adding watercolor paint to our Yayao Kusama pumpkins. We used oil pastel last time. Now we're going to make it much more colorful. Today you're going to choose 3 watercolors to paint your pumpkin, or 2 or just 1. But the maximum is 3. So do not choose more than 3. 3 or 2 or 1. Okay? And if I were you, I would choose colors that I did not use already. For example, looks like I used green or turquoise, which is a dark green, on my pumpkin. So I probably don't want to use green if I'm interested in making it extra colorful. You can, because it'll look different than the oil pastel. But if you want to make it more colorful, maybe you should use colors that aren't already there. These watercolors are very, very messy, so if they're not open, carefully open them. Only the 3 that you're going to use. I think I'm going to use a dark pink, a blue, and a yellow. And you're going to be using a brush today, of course. Let's go over a few of our paintbrush rules. We hold our paintbrush like a pencil. We grip it like this. We don't hold it way back here or in the middle, but right close to the silver or gold part, which is called the ferrule. And this long part where your hand goes is called the handle. So we grip the handle right behind the ferrule, or we call it the danger zone, because we don't want to grip it on the danger zone, and we don't want to get paint on the silver part either. So we want to keep our ferrule nice and clean, and we don't want to grip it on our ferrule right here, because we might get paint on our hands and it'll get messy real quick. That's why it's called the danger zone. And then we have bristles, which is the little hairs on the brush. Later we're going to call them our ballerina's tippy toes, because when we're painting we stay on our tippy toes. Before you start painting, you can make a decision about colors. Since you're using 3 colors, you can use them in many different ways. Okay? You can paint the inside of some of your white dots. And of course, you're going to paint the actual pumpkin, the front of the pumpkin, the side of the pumpkin, the stem, and if you have a little space in the back of your pumpkin. And you can choose how to use these colors as long as you use 1 color for every shape. That means you're not going to put 2 colors inside a shape, but I'll show you. Okay, I'm going to start with yellow, and I dipped just the tippy toes of my paintbrush. That means just the little hairs in the paint cup. I don't dip the ferrule. I don't dunk it, okay? And I like to carry my hand like this in case it drips. And I'm just going to pick a shape to paint. Maybe I'll start with a circle, and while I'm at it, maybe I'll jump over here. And when I'm painting, I don't want to mash my brush down like this. I want to keep it nice and flat, and I'm painting up and down or side to side, kind of like I'm sweeping the floor with a broom. Now, I painted 2 circles, and now I'm painting this little shape here. It's the side of my pumpkin. I can stop right here because this is a full shape. I would use yellow here and only yellow. I wouldn't use yellow and blue. I don't want my colors to mix. I want them to be separate. And watercolor paint can mix if they're in the same shape. But the oil pastel acts as a barrier. And the oil pastel will stop the paint from traveling or dripping into another area. When you run out of paint, get a little bit more. And I've decided I am going to paint this shape and this shape yellow in here. So I'm going to go all the way around the left side of my pumpkin, and I'm just painting close to those oil pastel lines, but not across or on top. I want it to stay in this area. Looking good. Okay. Now, when I'm ready to switch colors, I'm going to show you how to use a doggy dish and a sponge. Don't lift up your doggy dish. I'm just showing you this so you'll see what I'm doing. When you're switching colors with the brush, you're going to dip your brush in the water and push the bottom of the brush kind of like you're scrubbing the bottom of the dish to get all the paint off. Tap, tap, tap. And then wipe, 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 making an X on the sponge. We call it dirty old SpongeBob because after we use it a few times, it definitely looks dirty, but it cleans your brush really well. All right, now moving on to blue. And I clean my brush so I can use a different color. And I think I'm going to paint the front of my pumpkin. So I'm going to go around my dots. So my brush is curving with my shapes. So if my oil pastel line made a curve, I'm going to follow that curve with the motion of my brush. Please be careful not to lay your wrist down in wet paint or even oil pastel. It still could smudge or smear even though it's been drying for a while. Yes, ma'am? No, I don't.
You do me a big favor?
Yes.
If you can go outside to Madame got some classes out there, I need Malcolm Holman. He's checking out.
Okay, I'll tell him.
Okay, thank you.
So sorry about that. So we're going to be painting around our shapes. Now, I'm not going to finish painting this whole front of the pumpkin. I think you understand what to do. If you have any white spaces left, just take that brush and go carefully around, get some more paint. If your paint makes a scratchy line or a scratchy sound, kind of like you're running out of paint, you will have to get more paint. So when your brush makes a scratchy line, kind of like this, and it's not a full stroke, it's still scratchy and it's not going to get better, right? Your paintbrush is trying to tell you that he's thirsty and you need to get more paint on there. Okay. I would keep going, and I can paint some of these circles blue if I want, or I could paint them a different color. But this whole shape, the front of the pumpkin, is going to be blue. Remember, we don't want to use two colors in one shape. So I'm going to keep going around. I'm going to clean my brush, though, because I'm going to stop here. I would, if I were you, I would finish that, of course, but I'm going to stop so I can show you something else. I'm scrubbing the bottom of my pan, tapping it, and then making an X, several X's. If you still think your brush is dirty, do it again. If you have a small shape or you're trying to get to a small line around a very skinny line, use a smaller brush, but we still use it the same way. Now, I don't want any white spot on your pumpkin or your polka dots. So paint all of them in with 1, 2, or 3 colors, no more than 3, and don't lift up your paper while you're painting. Lay it flat so that the paint doesn't run down and mix and make a muddy mess. I'm going to keep going, keep painting until your pumpkin is finished. We're not painting this empty space around the pumpkin, we're leaving that white. Have fun!